Shedeur Sanders is the QB1 for the Cleveland Browns. And this is why I hated the whole discourse throughout the season, because they put up new graphics and new splatter charts and all kind of colorful charts that show, oh, look what Shedeur Sanders rate. But they always leave out the fact that this dude got 7 weeks of starters reps, and he went 3-4 in those starts. And within those seven losses,
Shedeur Sanders is the QB1 for the Cleveland Browns, and this is why I hated the whole discourse throughout the season, because they put up new graphics and new splatter charts. So let me tell you what just went down, because Emory Hunt, one of the most respected football analysts at CBS Sports, just said what everybody has been thinking, but nobody had the guts to say out loud. So don't skip a single second of this video, and if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. When a respected analyst finally says what fans have been screaming for months, you know something just broke wide open. Not cracked, not leaked. Broke. And the moment I heard those words, I felt it in my chest, because this wasn't just another hot take, another segment built for clicks. This was truth finally getting air. This is the kind of moment that changes everything. Not just for one player, not just for one team, but for every fan who sat there watching, frustrated, confused, angry, wondering why it felt like the story being told on TV didn't match what we were seeing with our own eyes. We've all been there yelling at the screen, texting the group chat saying, "Y'all seeing this?" while the media pretends nothing is wrong. This story hits different, because it's not just about football. It's about belief. It's about betrayal. It's about watching someone with real talent get doubted, delayed, and damn near discarded before he even had a real chance to breathe. And if you're a real fan, not a headline fan, not a box score fan, you felt that. You felt every rep he didn't get. You felt every week he stood on the sideline. You felt every lazy take that said he's not ready, without ever asking if he was ever allowed to be ready. That's why this moment matters. Because finally, someone with credibility stood up and said what the fans have been saying in comment sections, on Twitter, in barbershops, in living rooms, that something was off, that the system didn't just fail him, it held him back. And let's be real, we've seen this story before. We saw it when Jalen Hurts got doubted even after winning. We saw it when Lamar Jackson had to prove himself twice. We saw it when young quarterbacks were judged before they were even developed. But this one feels personal, because this one felt intentional. This isn't about stats on a screen. This isn't about colorful charts and fancy graphics. This is about opportunity, about trust, about whether the league actually believes in growing young players or just throwing them into chaos and blaming them when it burns. Because football is not played on spreadsheets. It's played on fields, in film rooms, in practice reps, in confidence. You don't grow a quarterback by hiding him. You don't build a leader by doubting him out loud. And every fan who watched this unfold felt the same thing. Something wasn't right. Something didn't add up. The story being sold didn't match the reality we were watching. And when that analyst finally said it, when he finally pulled the curtain back, it felt like relief. Like somebody finally told the truth out loud. Not the safe version, not the corporate version. The real version. Because this moment isn't just about defending one player. It's about exposing a system that picks favorites. It's about calling out decisions that cost careers. It's about finally saying that development isn't optional, it's necessary. This moment could change careers. It could expose coaching failures. It could rewrite how a whole franchise moves forward. And if you think this is just another sports debate, you're missing it. This is about who gets believed, who gets patience, and who gets blamed. And what I'm about to break down for you proves one thing: this story was never as simple as the media made it. Right now, he's standing in the most uncomfortable place in the NFL, not fully crowned, not fully doubted, just stuck in the middle where pressure lives. On the depth chart, on paper, they'll tell you it's still a competition. They'll say nothing is guaranteed, they'll say he has to earn it. But every fan who actually watched knows the truth feels different. Because fans don't see him as a question mark. Fans see him as the guy who stepped in when things were broken and didn't flinch. When he played, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. You saw him take hits and get back up. You saw him stand in the pocket when it wasn't clean. You saw him talk in the huddle like somebody who belonged there. And fans felt that. They felt the energy change. They felt the team start to believe again, even when the record didn't scream success. But then you turn on the TV and it's a different story. Analysts talk about him like he's unfinished furniture, like he's a project, not a player. They point to wins and losses without context. They show numbers without showing circumstances. They say he went 3-4, like that tells the whole story, without ever mentioning the injuries around him, the timing, the lack of preparation, the chaos he walked into. Fans saw a quarterback fighting uphill. Media saw a stat line. Those are two different realities. In the locker room, players don't speak in headlines. They speak in trust. They know who shows up early. They know who studies film. They know who owns mistakes. And every time you heard teammates talk about him, you heard respect. Not hype, respect. That quiet kind that only comes when someone proves they belong in the fire. But outside that building, the noise never stopped. Every young quarterback lives under a microscope, but some live under a magnifying glass. One bad throw becomes a clip. One bad game becomes a label. And once a label sticks, everything you do gets filtered through it. If you win, it's the system. If you lose, it's you. That's the trap. And it's brutal because development doesn't happen in public opinion. It happens in patience, in reps, in mistakes that aren't broadcast like crimes. But when the world already decided who you are, growing becomes harder than playing. He's living that right now. Fans see the flashes, the touch, the timing, the confidence when things break down. They remember the games where he competed against teams with playoff energy and didn't look scared. They remember the moments that don't show up in box scores, the drive that changed momentum, the throw that kept hope alive, the way the sideline responded to him. But analysts keep asking if he's the answer, like he's supposed to solve everything overnight. That's not how this works. Quarterbacks aren't born finished, they're built. Some get time, some get trust, some get space to fail and learn, and some get judged before they even get a chance to breathe. He's in that last group. Right now, he stands at the center of a storm depth chart politics, media narratives, fan expectations, locker room dynamics. Every move he makes gets watched. Every mistake gets magnified. Every success gets questioned. And the crazy part? His story isn't written yet. Not even close. But the pressure on him right now, that's heavier than most people realize. They didn't just fail him, they put him in a position where failure was almost guaranteed. That's the part that still makes me mad. Not that he struggled sometimes. Not that he made rookie mistakes. Every young quarterback does. But the way it happened, the timing, the reps, the trust, or more accurately, the lack of it, that wasn't normal development. That was chaos dressed up as competition. In the NFL, quarterbacks are built in layers. You give them reps, you give them rhythm, you give them confidence before you give them the keys. You don't throw a kid into a burning house and then blame him for coughing. But that's what this felt like. He wasn't given a full runway. He wasn't given a real foundation. He was handed a situation that was already shaky and told, fix it. No offseason as the clear guy. No camp where the system was molded around him. No patience. Just pressure. Imagine being told to lead men who've been in this league longer than you without being trained like a leader. Imagine being told to win games without being prepared to win them. Imagine being told to survive without being supported. That's what this was. And what makes it worse is how mistakes were handled. They weren't coached, they were punished. One bad throw didn't lead to teaching, it led to doubt. One bad game didn't lead to growth, it led to whispers. Instead of saying, let's build, it felt like they were waiting to say, see, told you. That's not development. That's restriction. You could feel it watching. The hesitation, the pressure, the way every play felt heavier than it should have been. Not because he couldn't handle it, but because he wasn't allowed to breathe. He was playing with a clock in his head, not just the one on the scoreboard. And while all that was happening, the media piled on. Every rough series became a segment. Every mistake became a narrative. And once narratives start, they don't stop. They snowball. One analyst says he's not ready. Another says he's a project. Another says he might not be the guy. And suddenly, the story is written before the player even finishes his sentence. Fans felt it. You could feel the frustration in the stands, online, everywhere. Not because they hated him, but because they saw what was happening. They saw a young quarterback trying to grow in a place that wasn't built for growth. They saw a kid carrying expectations without being given tools. That hurts to watch. Because football fans understand something the headlines don't. Confidence is everything. Timing is everything. Trust is everything. And when you take those away, even the most talented players start to look smaller. This wasn't just about play calling. This wasn't just about schemes. This was about belief. And it felt like belief was missing. They didn't say it out loud, but their actions said enough. Limited reps, late chances, short leashes, that sends a message, and every quarterback hears it. You mess up, you're done. You don't get time. You don't get grace. That's not how stars are made. That's how careers get buried. So when you look back at how this all unfolded, you've got to ask the real question, not the safe one. Was this just bad coaching? Or was it fear? The moment they finally let him breathe, you could see it not just in the stats, but in his body language. There was a different walk to him, a different look in his eyes. Not rushed, not tight, just ready. When he started getting real reps, real trust, real responsibility, the game started to slow down. You could feel it watching. He wasn't just reacting anymore. He was reading, anticipating, commanding. He wasn't playing scared of mistakes. He was playing hungry for moments. And that changes everything. Because confidence isn't something you fake. It grows when someone believes in you long enough for you to believe in yourself. When coaches stopped treating him like a risk and started treating him like a quarterback, he responded exactly how real players do. He rose. You saw it in the huddle. You saw it in how teammates leaned in. You saw it when things went wrong and he didn't fold. There were plays that didn't show up as touchdowns but showed up as leadership. Third downs where he stood in knowing he'd get hit. Drives where he calmed everyone down after chaos. Moments where you could feel the sideline say, "That's our guy." Fans felt that shift too. You felt it when he scrambled to extend plays instead of forcing them. You felt it when he trusted his arm instead of doubting it. You felt it when he stopped looking like a kid trying to survive and started looking like a quarterback trying to win. That's what happens when someone finally believes in you. And think about how wild that is. How much talent can stay hidden just because belief was missing. All that potential sitting there, waiting on trust, waiting on timing, waiting on someone to say, "We got you." Because once that happened, the flashes started coming faster. The throw under pressure that made you sit up. The drive that flipped momentum. The calm in the middle of noise. Those are not accidents. Those are signs. And what excites me isn't just what he's already shown, it's what he hasn't even been allowed to show yet. Because imagine what real preparation could unlock. Imagine a full offseason knowing you're the guy. Imagine camp built around your strengths. Imagine weapons who fit your style. Imagine protection that lets you think instead of panic. That's not fantasy. That's how quarterbacks are supposed to grow. We've seen this story flip before. Jalen Hurts didn't become Jalen Hurts the first time people doubted him. Lamar didn't become Lamar without people trying to box him in. Every great quarterback has that moment where belief finally matches ability. This feels like that moment. The anger from before, that's fading. The bitterness, that's turning into belief. Because now, we're not just talking about what went wrong, we're starting to see what could go right. He's not the same player he was when this story started. He's tougher, calmer, sharper, more sure of himself. He's been tested by doubt, slowed by circumstance, and still stood up when it mattered. That changes a man. And the player people doubted, the player they rushed to judge, that's not the player walking into this next chapter. This next version, he's walking in with experience, hunger, and something dangerous. Belief. This is where legends start, not with perfection, but with survival. Not with crowns, but with scars. Every great story in this league begins the same way. Someone gets doubted, someone gets blocked, someone gets tested. And the ones who become legends are the ones who don't disappear when it gets ugly, they stand. That's where he is right now. Not guaranteed greatness, not promised success, but sitting right on the edge of something dangerous. Potential. This is the season where belief matters more than hype. This is the moment where narratives don't just talk, they fight. Because from here on out, careers don't drift, they turn. They get buried, or they get reborn. And everything he's been through, that's not baggage, that's fuel. Every rep he didn't get, every doubt he heard, every headline that tried to shrink him, that stuff doesn't break real players. It builds them. He was doubted, he was delayed, but he was never done. They tried to define him and he refused to accept it. That's the heartbeat of every great quarterback story. Not talent alone, not arm strength alone, but the will to say, you don't get to decide who I become. Fans need to understand what this moment really is. This is not the ending. This is not the proof. This is the beginning of the answer. This is where belief becomes visible, where preparation meets opportunity, where the excuses fade and the truth shows up on Sundays. Not in words and throws, in decisions, in leadership. And it's not just on him. It's on the team. It's on the coaches. It's on the fans too. Because players feel belief. They hear it. They carry it. And when a fan base stands with their guy, not blindly, but honestly, it changes things. It gives room to grow, room to fail forward, room to become. Don't let headlines steal hope. Don't let clips replace context. Don't let noise erase progress. This league loves to crown early and bury fast, but real fans know better. Real fans watch the journey, not just the box score. They see effort. They feel momentum. They recognize when a player is becoming something instead of just being judged as something. And what he's becoming right now, that's the part that should excite you. Because legends aren't born when everything goes right. They're born when everything goes wrong and someone still shows up. This is the season where belief is louder than doubt. This is the moment where stories change direction. This is where a career either fades into what if or rises into remember when. And you get to be here for it. Not just as a viewer, not just as a commenter, but as a witness. Because if this turns into what it could turn into, you'll be able to say you saw it before the world did, before the headlines caught up, before the story was safe. You'll say you were there when he was doubted. You were there when he was delayed. And you were there when he proved he was never done. This is where legends start.